Okay, so today we will continue our discussion about language and automata theory, still in the second sub CLO, and we will learn about parser. But as usual, before we go to the new topic, we will discuss our last post test first. So last week have you learned about context-free grammar, which is a grammar that has several production rules, uh, which then can be converted into a context-free grammar. Sorry, into a push-down automata. So to make a grammar, it is indeed a bit tricky because it really needs your logic. For these two examples, for example, here we have B strings in the form of B, BN, AM. So what we can do here to make the grammar is we can divide it into some substrings. It will depends on index we have here. So here we have N, we also have M, so we can divide based on that. In the second example, here it can be written as AN, BM, AM, AN, right? Here we have two index M and also N. So we can divide it this in the middle one as a substring, and the outer one is a full set of the string. But here we can divide it as B itself, BN, and then AM. So we can define the production rules P for the grammar, where we always start with S, with a uh, starting variable. And because we can divide it into three parts, one is B only, the symbol B only. The second is to define BN. So we can have any non-terminal symbol, let's say B, where B will later define B to N. And then we will have another non-terminal symbol, let's say A, where A we later will need it to define AM. Okay, we will have it like this. And then B itself, we need to define it such that it can define B to the N. B to the N means N can be empty. So we may have empty string. And then we may have 1B, 2B, 3B, and so on until infinite. But basically, if we have B or some number of B, we can add another B to have a new one. So it can be written as this. So we can have, or we can add a B from a previous capital B we have. It can be like this. You may also write it like this. It doesn't matter, because the main point is you add more B into the previous one. And then we want to define capital A inductively again. It can be empty, and similar to before, we can add another symbol A to the non-terminal A, like this. This is the production rules for the grammar we need. For the second one, we need to define what we have inside. Let's say we called it an A, capital A. The production rule always start with S. Here, from the whole S, we may add an A on the left hand side, but also this in the same time we add it in the right hand side. So together we may have A as A. Okay, it's not A. It's different. Okay, because here we have A in the outer side, where the inside will be S itself, but with less A's. Okay, and we may also replace the middle S with A, with the substring we have here, where A is we may have more B and A in left and right. So we may have B, A like this. But M can be empty. It can be zero. So it may be empty string as well. Okay, so we can define it like this. For the production rule itself, is there any question? Oh yeah. So next we will draw the PDA from the CFG. To draw the PDA, we always have four states. So we always have four states where the first transition always only pushing the hash. The last transition always only popping the hash. It needed to empty the stack. And then the middle transition will always pushing S. And then here we always have a loop where we uh, read nothing and then pop whatever we have in the production role on the left hand side. So it is these production roles contains four roles actually, right? This is the first one. This is the second one. This is the third one, and this is the fourth. So we will have four transitions from that. So S for the first production rule, S may be go to ASA. So we always read nothing, pop whatever we have on the left hand side of the production rule, and push whatever we have on the right hand side of the production rule. And we do it for every production rule we have. So we have read nothing, pop S, and then push A, read nothing, pop A, and then push BAA, and then the same goes to the last one, like this. And other than that, sorry, it's a bit ambiguous, so I will move it here. It is, the last one always be accepting state as well. Okay, so back to the loop. Other than have a transition based on the production roles, we will also need transition based on symbols we may read. So we may read A. In that case, we will pop A and then push nothing. Or we may read B. In that case, we will pop B and then push nothing. So we will do it for every possible symbol we may read. Okay. So this is how we convert from CFG to the PDA. The same will goes with the first one. I will not give the example for that because it's basically the same. Any question?
Excuse me, Miss. I want to ask about the
Yes.
second question. So for the S is A, S A or A? Is it can be a lambda or not? Because in this question, N is equal or greater than 0.
Okay. If you write it like this, it is correct. But if you write it like this, it is correct as well because uh, from S we may go to A, and from A we can go to lambda. Or on the other words, from S we can go to lambda right here. Okay, so if you write it like this, it is correct, of course, because N and M can be 0. But if you don't write it, we can use these production rules as well to go to the lambda, to the empty string. Does it make sense?
Makes sense, Miss. Thank you.
Another question? Okay, if no question, we will go to the next topic, which is parser. But before we go to the parser itself, we will discuss a bit about deterministic pushdown automata. So, like in finite automata, if you recall, in finite automata, we have non-deterministic and we also have deterministic. The same goes to PDA. We will not go into deep, very deep to the deterministic of PDA, but it's nice for you to understand that there is a deterministic pushdown automata as well. Uh, as usual in deterministic part, for deterministic PDA, it means it is a PDA that has exactly one transition at one time, in the sense of if we have to read some symbol and the top of the stack is some symbol, then we only have one option to for the transition. So if we have this transition and also this transition, which go from the same state and read the same symbol and pop the same symbol as well, then the target state and also what we push must be the same. That is deterministic pushdown automata. But what if the input symbol is X, the stack the top of the stack is Y, and there are two transitions we have these two. For the first transition, we may read nothing and pop Y. It is possible in this condition. For the second transition, we may read X and pop Y. It is also possible for this condition. Or what if the input symbol is X, the top of stack is Y, and there are two transitions. For the first transition, here it is possible because we can read X and we may pop nothing. And for the second transition, it is possible as well because we may read X and we may pop Y. So in finite automata, we determine the non-deterministic or deterministic only based on what we read. But here in pushdown automata, two things we need to consider. The first one is what can we read, and the second one is what can we pop. Because if we pop what is not in the top of the stack, then the transition cannot be done. Right. So in deterministic pushdown automata, basically we can only have exactly one of these options for every possible symbol we have and for every possible state we have. So we can only have exactly one option for this, for what we uh, read and also what we pop. It indicates that if we have this transition, if what we read and what we pop is not empty, then for every other transition from P to Q, what we read and what we pop cannot be empty as well. And if one of them is empty, then we will not have any other transition where what we read is not empty and what we pop is not empty as well. Okay, this symbol is actually the stack symbol, where usually it is the alphabet symbol union with the hash symbol. Okay, but basically, if we have transitions where what we read and what we pop, there are two options from here, then it is not deterministic. But if we have only one of these for every transition, then it is a deterministic. Uh, so we here can design a PDA that contains a state P, and there is a transition this that will be executed if Y is top of the stack, but the other transition can be performed as well. And we can define the non-deterministic and deterministic PDA transitions under the assumption that the stack symbols are X, Y, and hash. So for example, here we have non-deterministic push-down automata here because we may read X, but if the top of the stack is Y, then we can go here, but we can also go here. So we have two possible options, right? But to make it deterministic, then we can do it like this. So we will go to this option only if the top of the stack is not Y. So it means if we read X, we will go to the first option if the top of the stack is Y. Otherwise, we will go to the second option where we're not popping anything, not pushing anything. It means if the top of the stack is Y, we can do this transition. But if the top of the stack is not Y, which means it can be X or hash, then we can basically do nothing, but we write it as popping X and pushing back the X. It is the same, right? So we read X and do nothing about the stack, but instead of writing like that, we write for every possible hash stack symbol other than Y, we pop whatever we have in the stack, in the top of the stack, but put it back by pushing it back to the stack. It is the same as doing nothing to the stack. Okay. If you have
Sorry
yeah,
to interrupt.
yes.
Can you re-explain? I don't understand how to make non-deterministic to deterministic.
Okay. So basically, there are two options, right? If we read X, oops, if we read X, which transition we can go will depends on the top of the stack. It can be Y, it can be X, it can be hash, assuming that only these three are the stack symbols. Okay. In the case of hash in the top of the stack, from this transition, we can only go to the second one because it cannot be done, right? In the case where top of the stack is X, we can only go to this, but we cannot go to the other one. In the uh, in the case where the top of stack is Y, we can go to both. So that is non-deterministic. And to make it deterministic, we will assume that we will choose the first transition where the top of the stack is X. Otherwise, we will go to the second transition just to make it a deterministic one. First transition, so this will go to the second transition. Okay, so if we read X and then top of the stack is Y, we will go to the first transition where we pop Y and push nothing. But if we read X and the top of the stack is X or hash, we will go to the second transition where actually we don't do anything to the stack, right? We pop nothing and we push nothing as well. But because we want to limit this transition into the case where the top of the stack is X and hash only, then we rewrite this into this kind of transition. So in this transition, we only read X without doing anything to the stack, right? In this case, for this transition, we read X and then in the top of the stack, it has X, but we don't do anything. So we continue to read the next symbol. But we want to limit what we can pop, so we write it as popping X, but we pushing it back. So the final stack will be the same as doing nothing to the stack. The same goes to the hash symbol. Does it make sense?
It is understandable. Thank you, Miss.
No worries. Any other question? Okay. And then different to finite automata, where for each languages that can be accepted by NFA, there is a DFA that accept the same language. That condition could not be applied to PDA. Languages that can be accepted by DPDA are the proper subset of languages generated by CFG, because you can see here in the actual non-deterministic, we have two options for this condition, right? But we limit it into some conditions where this condition can only go to the first transition. So we kind of make some assumptions. That's why from here to here, they are not exactly the same, but this is a proper subset of the non-deterministic. So we cannot really convert the non-deterministic to the deterministic with the exactly same language. And then here, okay, William asks, deterministik apakah boleh read lambda? Deterministic can read lambda. It may, but again, pilihannya cuman ini ya. These are the only options. If we read lambda, then these three options cannot be there. We may have this transition where we read lambda and we pop lambda, but this transition cannot be there as well. Jadi kalau ditanya boleh atau enggak, boleh, tapi dengan catatan kita nggak boleh ada opsi yang bikin dia ambigu. Gitu. Cukup jelas, William? Okay. And next, we will go to our main topic today, which is parser. So suppose we want to convert CFG to PDA following the steps on last week class. We will have four states, I, P, Q, F, and we can implement a program based on that PDA called as a parser. And there are two types of parser, LLK parser and also LRK parser. But what we will learn today is just LLK parser. So why the name is LL? It is because the first L means the input string will be read from the left to the right. And the second L means the parse tree result represents the leftmost derivation. Okay, so L, this means we read the string from left to right. And this means the derivation we use is leftmost derivation. Similarly, for LR, it means we read from left to right, but we use rightmost derivation. And then, for example, if we have these production roles in the grammar, then the pushdown automata will be like this, just like what we learned last week. We will always have four states. The first is the initial, the last is accepting state. The first transition always like this, the last one always like this as well, and the middle one always like this as well. And what we have in the third state, we have a loop. For every possible production rule, we read nothing, pop left hand, push right hand side. And then for every possible symbol, we read the symbol, pop the symbol, and push nothing. Okay, and we can make a parser like this. So here, basically what you do is we will always the same state, right? So these are always there. And in state I, we always push hash. It's supposed to be a small I, yeah, sorry. And then in state P, we always only pushing S. And then in state Q, we have a loop. And then in the final state, and from this state, we pop a hash only before going to the final state. So this part are always the same for whatever production rules we have. The difference is only what we have in the loop, right? And in the loop itself, we just need to write down the production rules we have. In the case where the top of the stack is S, what we can do is popping S and pushing X S Y, or popping S and push nothing. So pop S and push X S Y, or pop pop S and doing nothing else, not pushing anything. Or if the top of the stack is X, then what we can do is this, right? What we can pop is X, so this is the only option. So we will read an X from the input only, other than pop X. And in the case where the top of the stack is Y, we can only do this transition where we read X, we read Y, and then pop Y. Okay, so the parser will always have this because we always have the same transition for the PDA. The difference is only what we have in state Q. We just need to have case top of stack and see for every possible symbol what options we have. We can use OR and then define what we need to pop, what we need to read, or what we need to push for every option. Any question?
Miss, I want to ask something.
Yep. Yes.
In our exam, do we make this code for person?
I don't know. I have taught TBA for about 2 or 3 years, and it never appear in the exam, but it is the main problem for the group project. But this semester we don't have group project, so I don't know the coordinator will put this in exam or not.
I see. Okay, thank you, Miss.
No worries.
Sorry, itu tadi ada tulisannya kan yang pop S and push XSY or pop S. Itu kenapa?
Okay, it's because of this. In the case of the top of the stack is S, we may pop S here or we may pop S here. Okay, jadi untuk transisi yang ini, for these transitions, we will need to pop S and push X, SY. That's why we have this. Or we can go to this transition where we only pop S and do nothing else. So, or pop S. Does it make sense?
Jadi disatuin gitu ya, Miss ya?
Jadi
thank you.
ini, pokoknya ini every possible symbol. Terus untuk setiap case-nya ditulis opsi apa aja yang ada. Setiap opsi pakai or. Okay. Another example. Here we have a production rule. Then we can have this parser. You see, this is the same. This is the same. What difference is only in state Q we have a case of. In the case of the top of the stack is S, then S, we will pop S and push ZPZQZ. Only this. In the case where the top of the stack is P, P means we have two options, this or this. In this case, we pop P and push BPB, or we pop P and push P. Oh, sorry, this one. And in the case of the top stack is Q, we have two options again, pop Q and push CQC, or pop Q and push Q. This. And don't forget, we may also have transition when we read every possible symbol, pop that symbol, and push nothing. So for every possible symbol we may read, we can pop them and read them as well. This is possible symbol as well. Okay. And basically, we do this in our CFG or also in our parser. So for example, we have this grammar. So we will have this CFG, and by having the parser, we will execute the input. The first we read nothing. Here we read nothing as well. So in state Q, we have hash S on the stack, and then the input string, let's say we have this. Okay, and then here we will push, pop S And then we have two options. Either, oh sorry, this is different CFG. I think I copy the wrong one. Wait, I will remove this first. Wrong PDA, sorry. The correct one is the CFG. So from here, what we can do is popping S and pushing ZPZQZ. That's why when we, that's why here we pop S and then push ZQZ, ZPZQZ. But remember, if we push this, it means the top of the stack will be like this. So if we push X, Y, Z, then it will become X, Y, Z, like this. Okay, so the top of the stack is the first symbol we have. But here we read nothing, so the remaining input is still the same. And then here the top of the stack is Z. In the case where the top of the stack is Z, we will pop Z and read Z from the input. So we pop Z and then read Z. So the remaining input is BB, PBB, ZQZ. And the stack is like this because we pop Z. And so on. By doing this parser, we will finally have Z in the top of the stack where the remaining input is Z. So we pop Z, read Z, and we only have a hash symbol left on the stack and nothing on the input. So we will go to the final state. Okay, this is the process how you read an input and checking if it is accepted by the PDA or not, or by CFG or not. So you will have a production rule. You will have a parser from it. You can draw a CFG first if you, sorry, PDA first if you feel comfortable with that, or you can go directly to the parser. And then by having the parser, we can have some process to check if a string input is accepted by the grammar or not. So the parser algorithm doesn't allow invalid input. For example, if X is the top of the stack, then the parser will assume that X will appear as the current symbol. But that is not always true. We need to use a principle that is called look ahead principle. It means like here, if the top of the stack is P, we have two options, right? It can be BPB, it can be, we can push BPB or we can push P in the case of this. So the result will be different if we use P instead. This will be accepted only if we choose BPB. So there are a way to see which one we need to choose, and it is called a look ahead principle. Basically here we will see based on what input symbol we read next. Okay, because we need to read B, then it cannot be changed into P because it is different. But if we change it to BPB, it is possible to read B. So the problem here for the look ahead principle, we need to choose which transition to be executed when on the grammar there are more than one derivation rules that can be applied. And how to choose? It will be based on current symbol. What the next symbol we need to read. And choosing the transition based on current symbol make the parser called as a predictive parser. For the first CFG example, we will use one symbol on. So here we have LLK parser. The first L means we read from left to right. The second L means we use left most derivation. And K means how many symbol we read for look ahead principle. Okay, we will see the example later. So in the principle, we will look at the current symbol to be stored in a variable, and the transition will be determined based on the top of the stack and the stored symbol. So for example, if we have this as the CFG, then the parser will be like this. This is the same as before. This is the same as before, but now we add read symbol. What is the current symbol we have? And if the current symbol we have is X, then we will pop S and push X as Y. Else, if symbol is end of string, then we will choose this one. So here we can see we have two options, right, for S. It may go to X as Y, or it may go to empty string. It means by the look ahead principle, the first option, we can go to this option only if current symbol is X. So we check what is the next symbol we can read, which is X. But in this case, it means the next symbol we need to read is empty string, which means end of string. So we read the symbol, and if the symbol is X, we will go to this option. Otherwise, we will go to this option. And in the case for X and Y as well, this is the same. We only need to pop the symbol and read the symbol. But in addition, we have if we have a restriction here, it can only be happen if the current symbol is X, because we need to read X here, right? The same goes to every possible symbol we have. So the difference for the previous parser and this LL1 parser is only here we need to read the symbol, and then we have extra restriction if for every case of the stack. If whatever symbol we may read. Okay. And finally, if the last symbol we read is not the end of string, then we will go error because we haven't finished reading the input symbol. For example, again, we have this, then the LL1 parser will be like this. Again, we only need to add read. So this is basically always the same. This is also the same. But in this case, this part is not written. You can use it, but you may not as well. But for the loop, it will always be like this. So we have case of the stack, and then we have restriction if the symbol we have. In the case where the top of the stack is S, then the symbol we may have is only Z. We check the first one, the first symbol we have on the right hand side. So if the symbol is Z, then we do the popping and the pushing. In the case of the top of the stack is P, then we have two options. We may have the symbol where it is B, we may have P. So we have two options here. Okay, so instead of only using OR like the first parser, we have if the symbol is the first symbol we have on the right hand side, then we do that transition and so on. Okay, any question for this LL1 parser?
Miss, I want to ask.
Mm-hmm.
So for the previous slide, we have the top stack going to lambda with S. So the else if gonna be symbol equal to end of string, or we can use equal to lambda.
Which one? Sorry. Oh,
Uh,
here.
This one, yeah.
Okay, so here means we push nothing. So we just not writing anything. So in this case, we only pop S, right? We push nothing, read nothing. So what we write here is only pop S.
For the else if symbol equal to POS, it was because it's lambda.
Oh yeah, because it's lambda.
Can we use symbol equal to lambda then?
No, because lambda is actually not a symbol. It is empty string. But EOS means we already reach the end of the string. So we don't need any symbols to read anymore.
Oh, understandable, miss. Thank you.
No worries. Any other question? Okay, then here. On the previous example, we only use one symbol on the look ahead principle. However, it could not solve all problems. For example, if we have this grammar, then in the parser, on the top, in the case where the top of the stack is S, it will depend on the first symbol we have on the right hand side, right? But in this case, we have two options for X. So it means we cannot use LL1 parser. It cannot be used. We need to use at least K equals to 2, which means we need to have information about the first two symbols it may read. So for example, here, the next two symbol we need to read is XY. And here we have another way to find the next two symbols. So this cannot be, this case, we cannot use the LL1 parser. LL1 parser can only be used where there is no more than one option when we have our current symbol. So, and to make the LL1 parser, we may use LL1 parse table as well. So this is a table to store actions for all possible top of stack and symbol conditions. And the parse table for LL1 parser is two-dimensional array. The table rows represent non-terminal symbols, and the columns represents terminal symbol plus EOS. The parse table advantage is writing the program more efficiently. So here we define LL1 parse table based on the following grammar. For example, we just need to make a table, two-dimensional, where the row is for every possible non-terminal symbol, and the column is for every possible symbol, plus EOS, end of string. And how to fill this? we just need to see for S, we only have this option to push, right? And this option can only be used where the look ahead principle, based on the look ahead principle, current symbol we read is Z. So it means in the case where current symbol is Z, we will push ZM and Z. Otherwise, it will be error. And then when the non-terminal symbol is M, if the current symbol is A, we will push AMA. If the current symbol is Z, we will push Z. Otherwise, it will be error. And in the case where the top of the stack is N, if current symbol is B, we will push B and B. If current symbol is Z, we will push Z. Otherwise, it will be error. Okay, make sense ya? Then you can write the parser by using this pseudocode. So you push S, read symbol, and then while stack not empty, we read the table. So if the case of stack is a terminal symbol, we will check the top of the stack is if it is equal to the symbol, then pop stack and read symbol. And this is for the non-terminal. Okay, and it will always be the same regardless of the table. Because it basically only read whatever we have inside the table. It will recall whatever we have here. Okay. This is another example for the parse table. So for the row, we will have every non-terminal symbol. For the column, we will have every possible symbol. And then in the case where the top of the stack is S, here we may have AB. So where should AB go? Where this is a non-terminal symbol, but the column we have is a terminal symbol. Well, in this case, we can check S go to AB. So we need to focus on the first non-terminal symbol, which is A. And A can be start with X or Y. That's why in X and Y, we write AB. Okay, and CD, the case where we push CD, it means we have S to CD. We need to focus on C. In the case of C, the look ahead principle, the first one, is A and B. That's why in the case of the current symbol is A and B, we will push CD. And the same goes to the others. If A, then look ahead principle is X and Y. So we have it like this. Otherwise, it is error. For B, we have YB here for Y and X for X. And so on. Any question for this? So basically, look ahead principle means you need to see what first symbol you may find from the right hand side of the rules. But if you find a non-terminal symbol, then you need to check that non-terminal symbol which the first look ahead it may have. Okay, Now, another example. In the previous examples, we don't have empty string, right? We have a special case for empty string. So if we want to define LL1 parser from here, X is obvious. For the case where the current symbol is X, we will have X as Y. But now, why we don't have error here, but instead we have empty string? It is because for the production rule that we have, where we have empty string, we need to check something called follow. So follow is symbols that can be connected with VN. For example, here S can goes to empty string, right? So it means from S, X, S, Y, we may change this X into empty string. And it means after S, we may meet with Y directly when we change it to empty string. So basically follow means that is a set of symbols where that can follow the non-terminal symbol S. So follow in this case, oops, oops. In this case, follow S is what can follow after S. From this S, we may directly meet Y. That's why Y is included in the follow. Also, after S, we may go directly to empty string. That's why EOS can be a follow as well. So lambda will be pushed, or actually we push nothing actually, where in the case where the top of the stack is S and current symbol is Y or end of string. Okay. Any question for this? We can see another example as well. So here, oh sorry, this is the same example as before. So this is another example. We have this. So A, we have A to lambda. So we need to find what are follow A. Follow A is the set of symbols that can follow A. So for example here, after A, we may have B, right? And B starts with A. So that's why A is included in follow A. Other than that, A can be followed by nothing. So we can end with empty string. Because if we have A to be A, and then A can be goes to B only. So A can be the end of the string. So we can have A, AOS, EOS like this. And also for B, we have this rule where B can goes into empty string. It means we need to find follow B. So follow B is here, the B we have here, may be followed by C. Sorry, what is C here? It's supposed to be, oh, sorry, I think they miss a column C here. or it should be B. I think there is something wrong with the example because we don't have C here. But anyway, if this is true, then C should be in the follow B because B can be followed by C directly. And B also B can be followed by B as well. But B cannot be the end of the string because yeah, it should be B and C actually. In this case, B cannot be in the end of the string. In this case, also B cannot be in the end of the string. So it should be CB actually. I think for this example, there is some this this answer are not based on this grammar. But if we want to see based on this grammar, then this is follow A and also follow B. Okay, so you can write lambda based on this follows. So in row A and column end of string will be lambda. And in row B, column C and also column B will be lambda. Okay, this is another example. So here we have A to lambda. It means we need to find follow A, where follow A, yeah, follow A here we have B, and B can start with C. That's why we have C. And A can be the end of the string. So it can be the end of the string. And follow B means here B can be the end of the string. And B can be followed by the small b. Okay, you just need to check what the non-terminal symbol can be followed by. And then the lambda will fill the table based on the follow. This is another example. S goes to AB and A can go to A. It means we can go to AB from A. And here A, in the case where A is lambda, we will go, so S go to AB. But A can be empty string, so we may go directly to B. That's why here AB is an option for our current symbol B as well. And A and B can both be empty string, so an of string can be AB as well, because S can go to empty string. Okay, and from A, we may go to AAB. And then we need to find follow A. Follow A is whatever can be followed after A, can follow A. And here B can follow A. That's why B is lambda. And here we have AB, where B can be empty string. That's why end of string is lambda as well, follow A as well. Okay, so basically end of string is part of the follow if that non-terminal symbol can be the end, the right end. B as well, B can be followed by C. That's why we have lambda here. But B can be the end of the string as well. That's why we have lambda here. Okay, up until now, is there any question? Aman ya. And now, if you want to create finite automata diagrams from rules in CFG, you can do it as well. Actually, as far as I teach the subject, this never occur in the exam. Because what the most important is that you can use the CFG to build the parse table. But since it is included in the syllabus, I need to discuss about it as well. So here from CFG, we can convert it to finite automata diagram. So it is not DFA, yeah. We back to finite automata. These are the steps. We introduce a new start symbol S prime to S. And then we have a dot marker. For example, if we have this, it means Z has been read, and we will process the rest on the right hand side of the dot. And then we form a set enclosure containing the rules S prime to dot S. And then as long as it is possible without redundancies, we select symbol, which is the next symbol at the right side of the marker. And then X are all production rules that have the symbol S. If S is non-terminal, to the left of the production rule, we add X to the state. And so on. I will just go directly to the example because I think it is easier. So we always starts with S prime to dot S. So the first initial state will always be like this. Okay, S prime to dot S. But in addition, we have the production rule for S. So here the production rule for S is S to Z, M, and Z. So we will use that production rule, but we insert dot in the left. Okay, like this. So from here, we have two options. Because we have two rows here, we will go to two states, two different states. This is for the first row. As we go here, because we will have this as whatever we have on the right side of the dot. So because this is dot S, we will have S here. Next, we just need to move the dot to the right, one symbol. If the dot is already at the end, it means we have an accepting state. So this is for the second one. We have Z, a dot Z, M, and Z. So we have Z here, and we move the dot one symbol forward. So we have Z dot M and Z. And next we add in the same state whatever production rule where the left hand side is M. So we check what symbol we have after the dot. It is M. So we focus on production rules from M. And we again use dot in the left side. And we do the same until all production rules are finished. So from here, we have three options. This is for the first rule, second rule. This is for the first rule, second rule, and third rule. Okay. So after dot, we have M. That's why we have M. We move the dot one step forward. And then we define whatever we have after the dot. The second rule starts with A after the dot. So we move the dot one step forward and we define whatever we have after the dot. and so on. We will do it again until we reach final state for every possible symbol. And for this, for example, from M to Z, we already have a state for that. That's why we can just go to the same state. Okay, any question? No, yeah. So you will have a post test. It is already uploaded to LMS. You can do it individually. This is one of the type we have in the post test. Basically, you need to create a parse table and then create an LL parser from the CFG. So parse table will be like something like this. Something like this. This is the parse table. And then for the parser, it will be something like this. Okay, so you need to build the table, create the table, and write down the parser like this. Does it make sense? Any question? The deadline will be on Monday. You can submit it through LMS directly. Okay, if there's no question, let us do the attendance.